were born and how many brothers and sisters you had, your mom and dad?
Well, I was born December the 22nd, 1894. And I was the sixth child of the family. I only had the oldest one of the family was a boy. He was 10 years older than I. And mother was 20 years older than him. That made my mother 30 years older than myself, almost 31, because of the fact that her birthday was in January and mine was in December. Had my birthday been a month later, why, she would have been 31 years older than me. Well, the next child of the family was a girl, was my oldest sister. And that was Dora. And she married Ryan Hammer, and they lived at Providence, and she died in Providence, died in 1932. The next child under her was a brother of mine, Al Blackburn, that lived in Detroit for a good many years, and then he lost his wife, and he's living now with his son down in South Carolina. He's 87 years old. I have a brother that's older than myself yet, still living. My sister, though, just younger than that boy, she died about 6 or 7 years ago. And then my brother, just older than me, he still lives in the community. He lives over here about a mile and a half around there. And he's lived on the farm all of his life, except he did go to Detroit one time, and he stayed up there about 3 or 4 months, and then he came back here.
Well, if you go on.
My brother, just younger than myself, he was always asthmatic from the time he was just a small child, and never was able to work very much, although he eventually did get to what I mean, he wasn't able to work a lot on the farm because of ordinarily the dust, from farming and the like of that was too much for him. And then there was, he went to Detroit after he married here, and he went to Detroit and he raised up his family in Detroit, and he died in Detroit. Then I have my youngest brother, younger than me. He still lives at Princeton. You probably may know him, Jack Blackburn. Used to work in the post office. He retired from there, and he run a junkyard. He's the father-in-law of Don Owen Thomas, and you probably know Don Owen. And so that is about all that I could say about the history of the Blackburn family, any more than what I have already told you about my grandfather owning that several 100 acres of land down there, and it being divided up like it was. And so on. So then we ourselves only had, the wife and I, we were married in October the 17th, 1915, and she was the daughter of Finus Harper. And so I'll let her tell you the story from here on, if you...
Okay. You want to tell something about your ancestors? Your family? Yeah, I'm sure not doing just tell me your family, your mom, dad, your brothers.
My father was Finus Harper, and mother was Ida Stone Harper. And I was the oldest of 7 children. And Lila Harper, Harper Blackburn, she was name. And I had a brother named Jake, and a sister named Charlene, and a brother named Linford, and one named Robert, and one Bailey, and Milton. And at the present time, while they're all deceased excepting Linford and Bailey and myself.
See, you just taking that all up together, and there wasn't, you might say, anything left except just the ears and head part here. There's no jaws, there's nothing left, you see there. And those ears and that head and so on, of course, you're taking the brains out now.
You don't use the brains. You don't.
No, we eat the brains separately.
But not in the South.
Okay.
But not in the South. So you've taken that, and then you've taken the lower part of the jaw there, all that there was left of it, and you've taken the ears and, well, all what is left of the head and the jaws and the feet also. My mother used to use the feet, put the feet in. However, there's a lot of people that used to pickle the hog feet. They like to pickle hog feet. See?
Now, do you call them Joes or Jowls? When you Jowls?
Yeah,
Jaws is what we
jaw
are. That's what they used to call it, jaws.
Well, how many can you get off of one hog? How many Jaws can you get off?
2.
One on side, one on the other.
Yeah.
So that's all you get off the hog.
You first cut the hog across here, you see, cut his throat. Then you
hang it
split that jaw up through here. Well, that made you 2 great big fat pieces.
Well, in the butcher shop, we used to get one long piece about this long, and it would be thin in the middle, and I guess that's where it would couple together. 2 big pieces on the side, and then it would be cut, and it would still be connected. So they probably just made one run underneath.
And the way they fixed them then was like the lower teeth and all. When they first cut its throat and take off it, well, there'd be half of this bone would be on this side, and then the other half on this side of it. And then you take that meat off of that bone. That is not too close, but then you would boil that with the rest of the head and the feet and the ears. Of course, clean them all real good, naturally, and cook them till it's real tender. And then take all the bones out and chop it up or take the ends and work it up. And put your sage and your black pepper and your salt in it, and see if it suits your taste. Pack it in a... My mother used to tie it in a... Of course, we'd kill some 5 or 6, 7 hogs every year, weighed 200 or better. And she would tie it up in a big cloth, something like a cheesecloth, and hang it while it was hot. Well, she couldn't work it with her hands, while it was hot, you know,
Yeah.
to take all the bones out. That's the best way to get them out. You know, you can feel those bones
Yeah.
when you couldn't with a spoon. But if it was too cool, then well, she'd reheat it and put it in this big cheesecloth and hang it up somewhere. And then that grease would all drip out of it while it was hot. And a lot of
that's what
times
you
she'd
call
have
head cheese.
that's your hog-head cheese, what you call all the hog-head cheese now. And then a lot of times she got, then later years, why she got to just packing it in a big pan of some type and putting plates or something down on it, weighting it down. Well, the grease naturally would come to the top when it got, you know, while it was hot. When it got cold, she took that grease off and then you just slice it.
So actually, when it cools down, and there's enough grease or fat in it yet to make it
Yeah.
make it solid, to make it solid.
And it was really good too.
Well, how did you pickle fish? I've eaten pickled fish.
Well, of course, naturally, you clean all the heads and all of that naturally first. Clean them real good. And boil them just in clear water till they're real tender. And take them out of that and put them in biscuits.
Just vinegar and then whatever.
Vinegar, if you
One
want a
bay
little
leaf.
salt in them, or a little, if you want some spices of some kind, bay leaves or spices, mixed spices or something like that in with them. A lot of people do that. We used to. I know the last big daddy killed anyway from 5, 6, 7 hogs. Of course, there were 7 of us children and him and mother, and it took a lot of meat for us. And back them days, we didn't eat beef like we do nowadays. And pork is what we eat, something we didn't need so much of, but we ate. Had lots of it all the time. And I know my mother to pickle, if she didn't put her feet in her sauce, why she pickled them. And they would put them in a big open stone jar. A good cover on it, cloth cover over the top. Keep them weighted down under that vinegar and they'd keep all them on.
Well, you know, in the store one time we used to get bologna and that was stuffed in the intestines. Was that hog intestines that they used?
Yes,
I think they finally outlawed it.
They used to use them, the large ones.
Yeah, it used to be that they could stretch those intestines to the extent that you could get pretty good.
Yeah, we could get bologna that big.
Yeah.
And about that long length.
And then a lot of this little,
Colored people, they made chitlins out of
Okay, I didn't know where chitlins. I thought chitlins was the skin from the hog itself.
No, they make them out of the entrails, out of the.
Well, I'm eating chitlins too. We used to go over to the butcher shop all the time. Well, over to the slaughterhouse. And they'd give us a big bag of chitlins.
well, I never thought I wanted any of them.
They weren't too bad.
Well, no, because they clean them, you know.
Some of those old colored cooks, I want to tell you, was real good in fixing up chitlins.
Well, when we were over there, we saw them cleaning the intestines. And I thought that they were going to use it to stuff, to use it for stuffing or somewhere. But I didn't know they actually used the intestines.
That reminds me.
The smaller ones, while they use them for the different, they used to use them for different, besides types of sausages, you know.
Yeah.
You know, with different little lengths and some are round, some maybe a little bigger, and some maybe around the thumb, and like that, you know, but sausages.
Talking about chitlins reminds me of a story about they used to have a Baptist preacher around here with the name of Ham. Hezekiah Ham. I don't know, you may have heard of him. Well, anyhow, they sent him to preach to a colored church one time. And he went in this colored church, and he preached his sermon. He told them, he said, now, I'm not going to tell you what my name is, but it's the best part of a hog. So after the service was over, one of the old colored women come around to him